About this love. About this. About this love. About this love. Love.
How you guys doing today? You are tuned into About This Love podcast with your host Dale and Sherelle. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, people?
Coming at y'all all the way from Baltimore, Maryland. Be more, where you can always be more. So if you want to be more, move to be more.
I don't think they say that here. I think you the only one that say that here. You could tell he not from Baltimore.
So people like, you come to Baltimore, you might be less. Nah, I'm messing with you. Today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about just kind of how to kind of eliminate distractions from your relationships. And one of the things, like I said, I mentioned earlier in the intro, was that, you know, we had some deaths in the family. And so oftentimes whenever you have death in the family, you tend to do a lot of reflecting, like, hey, did I call them a lot? Or did I call them as much as I could, or I should? Did I spend as much time with them, you know, as I could? And I feel like oftentimes in relationships, we just don't realize how much things we allow to be a distraction. And so because of those distractions, we actually don't get to be as intimate with people as we would like to. And so that's kind of what we kind of want to talk about today.
Yeah, for sure. I think before we started recording, you and I were talking about how, you know, a lot of the, distractions, which is social media,
Streaming services.
Yeah, well, devices in general that
Yeah.
kind of come in between, which, as it was first presented to us, it was almost as if it was a tool to help us create these memories, capture these times, communicate more, which we've seen during the pandemic, which was really nice because when I tell you, I think I hadn't video chatted like with my own family, you know what I'm saying, to see their face. I think towards the end of everything, like everyone was zoomed out. Like that was even a term, like, oh, we're zoomed out. Cause, there was, we went to birthday parties on Zoom. Church on Zoom. There was school on Zoom. There was even, my sister attended a wedding on Zoom.
Like a funeral too on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. We attended a funeral on Zoom. Or I did, anyways. And then we had our baby shower. We didn't do Zoom. We did Facebook.
But we've done podcasts at the baby shower though.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is just that the whole idea of having just these different, like the laptop, the phone, now we got the watches, like everything is actually a computer.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do I link all of these things back to my social media where we're not social? And so, we're in the social media age, but we're finding that we are actually less social
and more disconnected than ever before.
Yeah. No. Like, even, especially for couples, you think that, oh yeah, I shared these videos, like, Dale, I'll be like, oh, I shared these videos. Did you watch it? And I think our intentions could be like, okay, well,
that's funny. Let me share it with my loved one.
Right, exactly. Let me share it with you. We could laugh. But for me, my intention, and I'm sure other people can relate. Like, I'm sharing this to probably like laugh, create some inside jokes,
or create a conversation.
And like we can kind of go from there, but it actually doesn't happen because of the infinite scroll. You watch one video and then instantly another one pop up, or you're scrolling to the next one.
Yeah, so I know because of all this, we've kind of, in our own personal lives, in our relationship and with our children, we've actually recently we cut out a bunch of streaming services. We the only ones we use now are the ones, well, one of the ones is that we get for free, which is HBO Max, because of with our phone service we get it for free, and we also have Prime because we use it for the Amazon with the packages, and it kind of comes. It's not free, but it comes along with the quick shipping, so it's like whatever. But the other ones that we actually pay for, we just kind of we kind of cancel the streaming services because it's like, a lot of the streaming platforms, even social media, cell phones, they create a distraction. And it's like when I'm with my loved ones, or with friends and family, oftentimes it's common nowadays that you'll see people at a restaurant where they're supposed to be talking and gathering and having a sociable time, and everybody's on their cell phone looking down at their phone. It's like nobody's talking. And I know me and my wife, we've experienced that often, where us two go out on a date without the kids, and we go to a restaurant and people on their phones scrolling, and I'm like, wow. I think the last time we was out, I was like, wow. I was like,
we're guilty of it as well.
we are, but I think the difference is that a lot of people don't know how to pivot. It's kind of like when we're at dinner, or sometimes when we're in the bed, or me and my wife are alone together, I'm like, hey, can you put your phone down? Or she say, hey, can you put your phone down? So I think that's kind of like learning how to pivot. Be like, hey, right now is a moment where us two are together. Let's kind of have a conversation and just talk. So I think that I feel like there's nothing wrong with that if you know how to pivot. There's something wrong with it if you don't know how to pivot. Does that make sense?
I mean, yes, it does make sense, and I do get what you're saying, like knowing how to pivot. But it's like sometimes it's a not sometimes it's an addiction.
No, it is. It definitely is.
It's a like if you, I mean, shoot, just thinking how we freak out, like some of the symptoms of somebody being addicted to something, like we freak out if we can't find it, like within seconds, if it's not in arm's reach. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? I mean, like, could you just leave your house? Like, how important are you really when you need your phone? If an emergency happens or something like that, it's like, oh, well, I need my phone for emergencies. And yes, I do get that things happen very quickly. Once you step out the house, shoot, even being in the house, things happen quickly and you need to be able to like call somebody. But it would be to the point, I remember years ago, I used to be on my phone, talking on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hold up, I'll call you back. I can't find my phone. Like, have you ever done that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Where it's like, I can't find my phone. And so then you think about it, like, and this is when I was single. I was like on the phone with my sister. Hey, man, I've been searching for my phone. And I think back then, social media was a thing. It was. But the way that it is now, it's almost like it's a everyday, like that's our daily bread.
Social media, it's really transferred. I think, I'm sorry, is that, transformed. I said transferred. It's really transformed. I think in the beginning, when MySpace and the other platforms were created, they were actually created to kind of connect people who maybe had gone to high school together or college together, and that was a way to kind of stay connected. But one of the things that you actually learn, and even if you do research, is that they actually don't. They give a false sense of connection, a false sense of community, because they're actually anti that. If you want to be truthful, like because like just because I see you. I go through my timeline and I see you with your wife or your family and y'all go on dates or vacation. It doesn't mean that I actually know you or that I actually communicate with you, because oftentimes I don't. Because I've met people, or I've seen people who I haven't seen in years. I'm talking about like 10, 15 years. Yeah, I see you online with your wife and kids. And sometimes like I don't really know how to respond to that, because I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but I on one instance, I understand what they're saying, but it's like you're saying that to say what exactly? Like, I see Beyonce and Jay-Z and they family on vacation online. I don't know that person. I don't know those people. Never met them before in my life. So it's like I think it lets on a false sense of connection to people that is anything. It's anti. Far as like I don't actually
It's
know
antisocial.
you. Yeah, it's antisocial. I don't actually know you. So it's like, why do I feel like I know you? Because I've seen you on social media, or I watch a music video, or vice versa. Baze. Because I actually recently watched an interview with a hip hop artist where he was like, it's weird when I'm out in public and people actually come up to me like they know me. He was like, that's kind of like what I've had to get used to. He said, but to me, he was like, it's very weird, because he was like, you don't know me. Yes, I understand you're a fan of my music and you watch my music videos. He said, but you shouldn't feel that comfortable to come up to somebody that you don't know and just start talking to them. And while I do understand a small aspect of it is like, well, I'm a fan of yours, but I feel like if you actually sit down for a moment and think about it, he was like, wow, he's actually right. Like you would, if someone came up to you like out of nowhere and you know who they were, you'd be like, yo, like man, you a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like they feel the same way. Because
Yeah.
it's the false sense of I know you because I see you online.
Yeah, but then I definitely understand that, because I feel like I've heard YouTubers, like YouTube bloggers, say that. But it's kind of weird because they do share their whole life and they do talk, or they share the highlight reels or the things, or their daily day in and day out. But it's almost like, like, I mean, I kind of do know you, and then they talk to you as if, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll be sitting there talking to you as if, um you know, like, yeah, as if they're talking to you through the camera or through the TV or the phone or whatever. And it's like, and they're responding as if you're having a conversation. But in the same way, I feel like that can happen with, you know, with couples, especially married couples, because it's like, well, yeah, we were texting, I was sharing these videos, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, hey, but babe, not once have you asked me what's on my heart. You know what I'm saying? Or how my day was. You didn't really check in. Yeah, remember I text you like what time, like did the kids eat when the da-da-da, especially when you're on two different schedules. It's like, but then by the time you come together, I'm like, I'm falling asleep. Like you got to go run and do something with the kids. And then it's like once you sit down and you're like alone time, and decompress, it's like, how much quality time did I actually spend with my person?
Probably none.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the beginning of people like growing apart, really.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, well, dang, like we actually went through this whole day, and I mean, and it'll probably be weeks or months sometimes for certain couples.
I'm gonna say something, and it's not really on the topic, but I think that society kind of creates that on purpose. Well, the American society kind of creates that on purpose. And one of the things I was recently reading an article, this is like years ago, and it was like, it's actually beneficial to companies and to the government if women are single, because single women tend to spend more money than women who are married, and they definitely spend more money than men.
Oh wow!
Like I was actually.
Oh yeah, that's true though.
Like one of my friends, I don't know if it was you, but somebody was telling me just last week, they was like, companies actually Elijah was telling me companies actually started to go on dating platforms and spam women, because they said they know that if they spam a woman or catfish a woman into meeting somewhere, women, because they dress up and dress nice, they're more likely to spend money there. I was like, wow, really? He was like, yeah. He was like, they actually use AI and they go on these dating websites and they catfish women, but it's really not. It's not like any malice behind it, but the fact that they're just trying to get them to spend their money at their restaurant. So it's like they're even using that now because they know single women spend more money than single men or married women or married women. And so I feel like everything in society is kind of keep us apart. And so I feel like we actually have to work that much harder in our own personal lives to cut things out and to have kind of set boundaries in our relationships and in our home. Like I remember years ago, there was a brother of mine. He was a father figure to me. He's gone now, but he had a rule at his house. We would always go to his house and we would talk and, joke, but they had a huge dinner table that could probably fit like 20 people. And when it was time for us to go to the table, he would be like, hey, just so you guys know, it's a rule in my house, no cell phones, at my dinner table. Or keep them in your pocket or keep them away, because even back then I didn't realize he was actually creating a culture where we're at the dinner table, we're going to talk and just fellowship. It's like some people now would be offended by that. What? I can't be my phone? It's like, brother, you're on your phone 24 hours a day for this hour or 45 minutes that you're with me. Can you not be without your phone? Like, is it that serious? But I feel like looking back now, back then I was a young man. I didn't have a wife and I have kids, and now being married and having a wife and children, I actually can see the benefit in that now.
I mean, yeah, like today we were having fellowship and I had my phone on the table, but it was for a different purpose. So a lot of times, the Bible now is the Bible app. And so, we look through the Bible app instead of having our physical Bible, but somebody called us. And so, what I'm saying? Actually, several people called us. And I felt like, yeah, I took the call, but I felt like it broke kind of closing that like fellowship time with our children. So I could see why, that's that was a rule, because maybe that had been the experience. I mean, you and I have been in fellowships with people watching the game while people are talking.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I was the guy who was watching the game during last year during the playoffs. Cowboys, I was watching the game. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's like you never know. And I think what happens as well, which we forget, is that we can miss out on God just in those moments. And it's like, oh, they're not talking about nothing anyway. And I can kind of check out for a bit. Like we kind of justify, like, I mean, even with, our spouses, it's like, okay, we just kind of shooting a breeze or whatever, or we just chilling. Like today, it's almost like, oh, well, we just chilling. It don't matter. But let's say we had, the TV on, because I mean, we've been to homes where it would be the TV, the radio, and like loud talking somewhere in the background by somebody else, like all going at the same time. And it's like, how can you even hear your own thoughts, let alone hear the Lord, if he wanted to like, intercede or say something that could change your life or fix your situation or bring you closer to your spouse or even hear what your spouse isn't saying,
Yeah.
I think people are afraid of like just hearing the quiet because I mean, I've become like my mother now. Like she used to keep the radio in the car on like I want to say on 5. Like seriously, where you could hear kind of like the
Static.
not even the static. What is it? You could hear the melody of a song or whatever. And
But you could barely hear it.
You couldn't hear no words, but you're like, oh, that's my song, and you jamming out. But I mean, it's so much like trying to get your attention in this world, kids, work, friends, families, and then social media. I know years ago, oh my goodness, Sarah Jakes did a good, what did she do? She did a good talk on this where she was talking about how these social media companies spend millions,
Some of them hundreds of millions of dollars,
if not billions of dollars, just to get your attention.
I mean, there's a psychology behind social media, and the psychology is really used in the marketing to get your attention. I think we were just watching the video, and the guy was like, "It releases a dopamine in your brain. It's kind of like it's equivalent to like doing drugs. It's like people don't realize that. It's like, well, I'm gonna just put my phone down. You probably couldn't put your phone down if you wanted to, because it's an addiction. And I mean, I'm being funny when I say you couldn't put your phone down if you wanted to, but I think that
No, some people couldn't.
if it's not a practice of yours, then you can't. Like today, when me and my wife, we sat in the house all day on the couch, like just talking. It was no TV on, it was no music, and I thought I'm like, wow, we sit here all day like with the TV off. But it's like some people, like that's a different world to them. Like, what? Sit in the house without TV? I gotta watch my TV show. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. It's like man, just sit down and relax. I mean, just relax. Like sometimes I'll be at work, I'll just be sitting in the office, just like chilling in the quietness.
Yeah, what's really scary though is also like the anxiety and the different mental things that pop up with using it. And I was thinking just days of kind of being in here when like you're at work and I'm with the kids, and it's kind of like, yeah, I let the kids do their thing, and I may have the TV on, but I'm still on my phone, and it's like those are two things just kind of at me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, I'm already overwhelmed. And I'm just like, man, what did I do today? So I think to combat that, I started to busy myself like with actual household chores. And it's almost like we want to go back to some traditional things, because that's now a thing to be like, oh, the traditional housewife or the traditional husband and in the roles. And it's almost like, you'll see different cultures of people who busy themselves. I think in the same way as, using our phones or social media, it is causing us to be idle. We're not doing any income producing activities. We're not doing any, social producing activities. We're not doing any like, building producing activities like within ourselves, within our children, within our relationships. So it's almost like, if I could sit here for like, let's say, what's a normal work day? Like, what's the hours?
8 hours.
If I could sit here at 8 to 10 to shoot, some people work 12 hours a day, whether I'm justified, like, oh, I'm tired or I'm a stay-at-home mom or whatever. So, and I've been like really tired from the kids. So I'll just sit and veg out on the couch and watch TV. We kind of justify that, which you're allowed to do that. You are. But after a while, you do have to say to yourself, like, okay, I know, the habits, in the same way of like eating junk all day. Like I know I'm going to feel sick after that. Or I know like my teeth going to be hurting or, fall out or whatever if I just eat candy all day. Like in the same way, when you get older, you're not just sitting and eating. Hopefully you're not sitting and just eating candy all day,
Yeah.
Or drinking soda, eating candy and stuff like that. But, everyone's preference is their preference. But, you just kind of realize like, or look, like we said, you decompress and you're like, what have I done today? And not even done as in like, could you physically see it? But it's almost like, did I give my mind time to rest? Did I connect with my spouse? Did I love on my children? Did I even play with them or look at them and just see like what they're really asking outside of, or asking for outside of what they're actually saying? And
I was going to say also, and then we can kind of shift gears. I was going to say that one of the things that social media has actually done is it's made a lot of the newer generations socially awkward. Like they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to carry on a conversation apart from DMing or sending someone a message on, whatever social media platform or a text message. They can't actually hold a conversation. A buddy of mine's, he's probably early 40s, but he was telling me that when he goes on date, he's kind of going on dates with a few women and like they're like early 30s, and he was like, sometimes I've gone on dates with women and they just be on their phone the whole time. And he was like, I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, this ain't gonna work. But I think a lot of that is because people are so engaged into and it's crazy. I think about the movie The Matrix. Like thinking about it, like now it's like you actually see it's like everybody's connected to the Matrix, where it's like we're here in the real world trying to engage, trying to be intimate. And by intimate, I mean like kind of having a real strong, deep conversation, and it's like people just on their cell phone looking down, and I've seen it many times, like I said before, even when I've gone to like family functions, it's like people on their phones. I'm thinking to myself, you haven't seen me in like 5-6 years. You are literally on your phone, but it's like people just don't know how to operate anymore. It seems like apart from having a cell phone or a tablet or some type of device being on all the time. It's like it's just not normal to go to somebody's house and they ain't got TV on, or they ain't got something playing on a tablet on the counter or something.
you know what? I watched a Amish documentary. Or did that come out right? Well, I watched a documentary about the Amish a few weeks ago, like after we went to that Amish market that one weekend, but it intrigued me. Like I was like, well, what their way of life. I think we asked a couple questions and we were like, well, are they allowed to use technology and stuff like that? Because they accepted like, our card. And I'm like, well, I didn't think they use any type of technology. But, there's a breakdown in like how they do things and everyone's different. But they keep the same kind of general principles, which is kind of like we're not like social media devices that does not like rule us or our home, or it doesn't dictate what we do or how we move. And one of the guys said that he noticed like during his interview with the interviewer, he said, yeah, I noticed that, you got distracted. Like your phone rang, and once you came back, you totally forgot where we were in the conversation. Versus, like I could hold a conversation like this. This is what we do. We sit and talk for hours. Like me and my buddies stand outside and we just talk for hours. Or I go to their house, they come to my house, and we just chat, or I help them out, or or something. And so I was thinking about that. Like, if we're not practicing having these conversations, and hear me out, and I mean conversations, not monologue, because social media, we're monologuing. Yeah. We're not talking to people. We're talking at people.
Or having a comment,
Or comment. So it's either long form monologues where, like, I'm telling my whole heart to whoever will read it, which we're not really reading all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or we're making a short comment, and it's to the point where, because they know that we don't know what to say, these social media platforms are generating like responses. So that's why if somebody posts just a really nice picture, you might get a happy birthday comment underneath your photo, because then it's like, well, according to AI, they thought that, this type of picture or these type of responses meant happy birthday.
Even in emails, I know with Gmail sometimes if somebody sends you an email and it'll just kind of give you like one to two, three different kind of responses to just hit the click on, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, that's the world we're coming into a society where people are basically gonna be thankless. They're gonna be brainless. They're not gonna have time to really do to think on their own. They're being told what to do, told what to think. I was watching a video, a YouTube short where, and at the time I didn't know because I wasn't familiar with was it ChatGPT, but kids in high school were using ChatGPT to actually write essays, and the teacher was like, how stupid do you think I am? And I didn't know that there's also, because Chat GPT is so popular now, people have actually created softwares or things to kind of know if something is used by Chat GPT. So I guess the teacher kind of had that tool at his disposal to be able to know. But I'm like, wow, we're coming into a time where high school students can't write a one-page essay. Think about it for a moment. Do you know how thoughtless or brainless you got to be? You can't write a one-page essay, which is like three paragraphs, which is 5 sentences a paragraph. Was it 5 to 7 or 5 to 10? Is it 5 to 7?
Like, back in our day,
it was 5 to 7
like
sentences.
5 to 7, yeah.
A paragraph. It was like you can't write 3 paragraphs, which is a one page.
Well, I mean, but you know what? I wouldn't even say it's thoughtless. It's just, honestly, it's just where we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, we hadn't been practicing it. Like, our attention is not talking to people. It's not reading. Everything is video. Everything is, given to us. I mean, even us adults, like, with social media, like, I forgot how to spell. And I used to be great at spelling. Always got like an A+ at spelling. Now I'm just like, how you spell that word again? And like, you have to get back into it and build up your stamina with it. But, when society kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? When society like makes you an outcast for not doing what they're doing or not falling in line, it's almost like you fall in line, you use the slang terms. I mean, I watched a video the other day where they said that they took the Bible and actually turned that into, or they Gen Z is after us, after millennials?
Don't get me lying, I have no
idea. Or Gen X. I can't remember, but I think they're Gen Zers. So Gen Z, they made a Gen Z Bible using like all their slang terms. And so this pastor was trying to figure out like, okay, well, does this match up to like the original text? And so he read kind of excerpts and was like, well, I guess it does mean the same thing. But here's the thing. I mean, I find myself, even with the Bible now, with the different translations, it's like, well, what that slang meant or what those words meant or mean right now didn't even mean the same thing. They didn't mean it back then in that context. And it's almost like you got to go, okay, let me go back to the King James. Let me see in that time.
Well, even with that, and I was going to say, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say they actually don't mean the same, because even most Bibles, like for instance, it's a scripture they use the word perfect, but in the actual Greek translation of the word English is perfect, it actually means mature. So they actually don't mean the same thing. So when I take mature or I take perfect and make it something different, then it actually, because in some languages, they actually don't have a translation in an English word, so they kind of find the closest one to that word. So it's like if I change the word, a passage or a sentence can lose its whole meaning. So I mean, I feel like that's dangerous, but I also feel like just we have to do things in our lives to kind of combat that. We have to create ways in our lives that can kind of combat distractions in our relationships and even in our own homes. And I kind of wanted to kind of us to talk about the things that we do or that we've done to kind of combat those distractions.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned earlier that we canceled quite a few of our TV subscriptions, streaming services. And one of the things that we've kind of done to kind of combat that is we started buying DVDs and Blu-ray, you know, and I know it's kind of archaic and people actually laugh at us, but I'm like, you know, that way, if we actually want to watch a movie, one, we don't spend an hour scrolling Netflix or Peacock or Disney to look for a movie. And 9 times out of 10, like even last night, we watched a movie. We watched Training Day. I was like, you know what, you want to watch this? Okay, boom, and we just put it on. It was like within like 5 seconds. It was like within 5 seconds, we were able to watch a movie. But I know many times when we had Netflix or Disney Plus, we would spend. Sometimes I ain't gonna lie to you, I spent so long looking for a movie that I ended up not watching one.
Yeah.
I remember one time I spent like over an hour looking for a movie because I think they were saying like there's a new psychology. Well, it's not new, but it's psychology. Like when you give people too many options, they're not really able to choose, or it takes them longer to choose. So we've kind of cut out our streaming services. We've started buying DVDs so that when we do want to watch a movie together, it takes less time for us to decide what movie we want to watch. We've also, whenever we get in the bed together or lay in the bed together or having a conversation on the couch, we make sure that we put our phones away. We actually allow our kids to have little to no TV time, and we actually make them play and read books. We actually,
Well, you don't gotta make them play.
I mean, well, yeah, you gotta make them play, but that sounds pretty like you make your kids play. Oh my goodness.
No, I mean, but they always listen. Like they always find something to play with. Even during fellowship today, it was just a napkin, and these are snowballs. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. We on Sundays, me and my wife and our children, we read the Bible and just talk. We just have conversations. But I actually like it because I'm realizing now that things like that help to foster a culture in your own family, as far as your wife and kids, where your children feel safe to come and talk to you. And I asked my son, well, how do you feel about this? Is something bothering you? And he's 10 years old. And I know when I was a kid, like, I necessarily don't. I would say that I don't know if my parents knew if something was bothering me because they never really asked me. Now maybe they did, if my behavior changed, but it's like I want to be able to know something is bothering my kid before it gets to that point. So I feel like and I mentioned that to say that oftentimes cutting out these distractions, ultimately they force you to get closer. They force you to talk more. And that's very good, for a family. It's very good for a wife and a husband to talk more.
It's painful. It's painful to be honest. It is, because it's almost like facing yourself in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, not that you don't want to know what you look like, as far as like when you talk to your spouse. You don't
if you're ugly.
No, I mean, that's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, but
that was a joke. That was a joke.
It was. I get it, but I was just thinking like it's painful. You gotta think about why people don't want to talk. Like, shoot, I don't want to talk to you as my spouse because I barely want to hear my own inner thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't want. And then as a spouse, and like if you've been married any part of the time, like any portion of time, it's kind of like your spouse always kind of knows exactly what to ask or say to like get under your skin. And you're just like, oh, come on. I just wanted to sit here. Well, why are you doing that? And it's like.
But can I ask you, do you think that because I think one of the things I realized, even with me and you, I realized that sometimes you'll ask me something or say something to me that gets under my skin, but that's not your intentions. But I realized that like I feel like because we're coming into a culture where people are actually antisocial. People are actually antisocial within their own marriage and relationship. So like I don't really want to be bothered, and because I hear dudes say it all the time. Like I go home, I don't even want to be bothered. I'm thinking to myself, man, you got kids and a wife. What you mean you don't want to be bothered? And sometimes like I'll joke with you. You be like, leave me alone. And what I say to you, if you want to be left alone, then you shouldn't have got married or had kids. It's like being in a relationship and having kids is like left alone is the last thing that's gonna happen to you.
I mean, shoot, even when we had our cats when we first got married, it was the cat by the door first, then the kid, and then you followed behind. And it was like, y'all get away from the door. Hey, how long you gonna be in the bathroom? I'm just like, come on now, all y'all. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But you know what though? I definitely hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that. So but I did want to say, like, if there's any couples, like our listeners who have any advice on this or want to share their marital advice, definitely submit that to our Gmail, like a little 15-second clip.
About This Love 211@gmail.com is our Gmail address. And again, I'll say it again, About This Love, it's all, obviously it's all bunched together, but About This Love 211@gmail.com, or you can just find us on Facebook and send us a message, and we'll kind of take that as well.
Yeah, definitely. We want to hear from you guys. Like, we're really excited to be jumping back onto this podcast and journey. And so we want to hear from our listeners and hear what you guys have to say. So, do you want to close us out? Like, well, how about not even just say close us out? Like, so let's take it back to the Bible. Like, what does the Bible say about, like, what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I found a verse. I don't think it really speaks to this directly, but I think you can apply it to this. And I believe it's Galatians chapter 6, verse 7-9. It says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. The one who sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction. The one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And I think that that sowing is more so like, what do I spend my time doing? If I spend my time watching movies all day on my phone, on TikTok, on my phone, watching movies or stuff on YouTube, I think that's gonna produce something that is really destructive. I don't think, I don't think it's gonna be like it's gonna kill you or make you crazy. No, but I feel like it will put you in a position or help you to be an individual that's antisocial. You can't hold a conversation, and that's not true for all people. It's not true for everybody. But I will say that I would encourage you guys to actually do your research. You can even type up YouTube videos. Go on YouTube and type up the effects of social media, or the effects of streaming services, or watching too much TV or screen time, and they actually tell you it's not good. And as my wife mentioned earlier, they actually do have solid, concrete research that shows it does attribute to mental health. It's like, yeah. So it's like, it's cool. So yes, ultimately it actually is destructive for me just to sit there and just spend all my days on social media or on my phone or just anything revolving around screen time. So yes, it is destructive, but no, that specific scripture wasn't talking about that. But I feel like you can take the scripture and kind of apply it to things on the various of factors and scenarios as it relates to just investing my time. How do I invest my time and my attention and my focus?
Yeah, no, definitely. But you know what? We're gonna do you one better, so that we're not like perpetuating the same stereotype, or not same stereotype, but the same situation. We also found an article that we will kind of link in the description as well that talks about that. You can read it.
Yeah,
you can read it. You can read what some of the psychologists are saying about like the studies that were done in adults and teens. But this has been a good conversation today.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate your attention.
Yes, definitely. Your hopefully undivided attention.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're driving and listening to this. But still, I hope you're paying attention like to the road, because people crazy out there.
Yeah. So until next time, About This Love, Dylan Sherrill coming at you from Baltimore, where you can always be more.
No.
Peace.